Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Hani Shahira binti Ahmad Basri. My metric number is 1912-42920. Today I will explain about introduction, which is traveling is the most interesting way of the meeting people and visiting new place. Provide that there are no dangers along the road, such as sickness, violence, or natural catastrophes. The vast majority of the time, however, when armed with the appropriate knowledge, risks may be migrated or eliminated entirely, and travel diaries are stuffed with unforgettable experience. Second, one of the most unsettling aspects of a journalism for travelers and those who wish to travel is the prevalence of pandemic and epidemics. When this happens, it could be challenging or even impossible to avoid getting off the condition. And then the third, in addition, the traveler themselves as well as anybody else they come into contact with while they are on their journey are at a risk. Fourth, until the 21st century, when COVID-19 caused a global epidemic, the tourism business has been one of the world's largest markets. And then the number of people who plan to travel fell between 18 and 90% across several of the world's cities. Many tourism destinations around worldwide, such as museum, amusement park, and sporting stadium, were forced to close as a result of the traditional and anti-military travel restricting the world implementation in the region.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Engku Samazila binti Muhammad Syafidin, and I'm going to present to you the issue of pandemic in the tourism industry. So, tourism industry has caused a loss of tourism demand. The tourism demand differs substantially depend on the type of disease and the location of the epidemic. So, during the pandemic outbreak, the total number of the loss of tourism arrival globally from 1980 to 2019 was 57 million. During the same period, lost tourism spending worldwide due to epidemic outbreak total was $95 billion. In comparison to the average world GDP value from 1980s to 2018, total lost tourist spending in a time of epidemic crisis was 0.23% of global GDP. Epidemic outbreak differ substantially depend on the type of disease and the location of epidemic. During the epidemic crisis, Africa tourism demand was unaffected. Total loss in tourism spending from 1980s to 2019 was $2 billion. Another type of epidemic was SARS epidemic in 2002 and H1N1 in 2009. In America, led in a major drop in tourist arrival of 10 million person, resulting in a loss of $21 billion in tourism spending. The Pacific and Pacific regions suffered a significant drop in visitor number during the avian flu epidemic in 1997, SARS in 2002, and H1N1 in 2009. During the country bird flu outbreak, 1 million people died and 2 billion was wasted in spending. Tourism arrival in the country dropped by 12 million during the SARS epidemic, resulting a loss of 2 billion in revenue. During the H1N1 pandemic, the region had a 3 million drop in tourism arrival and 6 billion drop in tourism spending. Most outbreak and disease were substantially avoided on the European continent between 1980 and 2019. However, during the H1N1 outbreak, Europe was hit particularly hard with a total drop in tourism arrival and spending losses that outstrip the economic impact of all other world regions from 1980s and to 2019. Another country where Middle East travel difficulties during the H1N1 influenza crisis resulting in a 3 million decline in visitor visit. Tourism's expenditure, on the other hand, did not diminish as a result of higher arrival receipt. The avian flu outbreak in 2013 caused a 2 million decline in tourism arrival and 1 billion drop in international visitor spending. According to our finding, epidemic outbreaks are associated with significant opportunities cost in travel demand. Although the epidemic outbreak has a significant influence on tourism business, when assessing the opportunity cost of epidemic outbreak, there are various considerations to consider. For example, outbreak followed by environmental and security difficulties or political and economic crisis. The overall effect of a single pandemic shock on the travel and tourism industry and national output, leading to a loss of 100,000 arrivals, is 0.53 billion US dollars, significantly a decline in revenue contributed to the GDP by the industry. Because of their complete financial influence on the travel and tourism business as well as the national economy, pandemic crisis should be regarded as a big circle event in economic literature. For instance, pandemic resulting in a drop of 500 million tourist arrival would result in a loss of 2.809 billion US dollar or 3.3% of global GDP. In the GDP made of contribution by the travel and tourism industry globally in 2018.
My name is Nur Amirana Bihar Binti Amiruddin. My metric number is 101240313. So I will talk about the scope of the study. The second point is lay off of workers. It is well known that the pandemic is already affecting the tourist and healthcare industry through the world, which may generate problems and difficulties for employees who lost their job. The COVID-19 issues, for example, has a significant impact on airline industry. Because of the COVID-19, airline must limit their flights because of the pandemics, even for the Malaysia. Previous research has found that visitors or tourists want to limit their travel to significant healthcare concerns and less COVID-19 infections around the world. The International Labour Organization (ILO) has been evaluated by the substantial evidence in the 5 nations that COVID-19 has touched, which are Philippines, Vietnam, Siam, Brunei Darussalam, and Mongolia. For example, in Mongolia, which decreased by over 16% and 13% respectively in their tourist industry. So lastly, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, several industry workers were set off for nobody would visit travel destinations. Thank you.
The tourism industry is one of the industries that also help to improve the economy of a country. It helps the government increase the country's income with activities such as tourism and leisure. Traveling can also help promote a place more clearly and quickly. In addition, with the advent of advanced technologies such as mobile phone users and internet facility have now become more helpful and save costs in conducting marketing activities on tourism. Nevertheless, in 2019, the COVID-19 pandemic has hit the whole world, which has affected all the industry of the world. All activities had to stop for a while to prevent this symptom from spreading further. This has also affected the tourism industry. Almost the whole world is unable to carry out tourism activities, and traveling from country to country or state to state is also not allowed. The COVID-19 problem has triggered a a collapse in foreign travel, with the World Tourism Organization projecting a 70% drop in international visitor arrival by 2020, with 1 billion fewer tourists than in 2019, putting between 100 and 120 million direct tourism employment at danger. This has resulted in significant losses in foreign revenue for tourist-dependent economies, as well as a drop in tourism service export and transportation service. Due to persistent mobility constraints, the travel and tourism sector contribute 10.3% to global GDP in 2019, but this will drop to 5.3% in 2020. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a significant impact on worldwide tourism, with fresh data revealing a 87% decline in international visitor arrival in January compared to 2019. The year's outlook in positive as the United Nations World Tourism Organization continues to advocate for greater collaboration on interstate travel protocol to ensure that tourism can restart safely and that the industry does not suffer another year of massive losses.
Assalamualaikum to Dr. Nur Azila. My name is Muhammad Izul Harid bin Hanizur Rahim, matrix number 151241374. So I'm going to continue to talk about the analysis on impact of COVID-19 on global tourism industry. COVID-19 creates a bleak future for all industry, but especially in the tourism industry in terms of very little or no mobility. Because the virus is rapidly spreading outside of China, the economic consequences will be felt not only through a decline in Chinese demand, but also directly in the impacted countries. China plays a growing role in tourism, which was especially sensitive during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, Chinese tourists spent around $277 billion abroad in 2018, accounting for 21% of total global travel spending. Because of the recent travel restriction enforced by the epidemic, both Chinese tourist movement and international mobility has ceased to exist. So the recent spread of virus with or without state quarantine measure has resulted in significant decline in so-called social consumptions, visit to restaurant, domestic tourism, cultural event, and trade exhibit has been all restricted. Several important events have already been postponed or cancelled in a number of countries. Due to the large number of cancellations, the airline industry has reduced flight schedule by nearly half. The tourist business is almost entirely dependent on the generation of intangible assets. Tourism spending is determined by availability, short and long-term goals, and on occasion dreams. This highlights the tourism industry susceptibility to poor luck. In the long run, an incident could devastate this intangible asset. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and hi, I greet to my honorable lecturer. My name is Nur Azra binti Bidin and my matric number is 191240317. Here I'm going to present about my part, which is solution purpose. Tourism industry can make economic growth in all countries. According to make economy in country growth immediately, tourism industry need to play important role to help the economy increase by using a few solutions. The solution that tourism can practice in the tourism industry is reduce the flight cost, increase the facility and infrastructure, and prepare the flexible package. As people know, the ticket flight is very expensive and the rate also vary. This is because it was depending on the distance that the people want to travel. The ticket most expensive if the distance was far and need to face more travel time. To cover of the losses caused in the economy tourism industry, they be able to make initiative to reduce the flight cost to attract bad customer interest, to reduce the flight service after 2 years boundary closed and cannot doing the outdoor activities. The current situation is not same with the previous situation. This is because the tourism industry need increase the facility and infrastructure to ensure the tourism safe from the virus. For example, tourism sectors such as local tour operator can offer the safety network to the tourism. With this, the tourism can feel safe and work when they travel to the other country because of the benefit that tourism sector provide during the holiday period. It also can make the tourism feel safe when doing the outdoor activity without being afraid to face with the other people when they travel. Even though the tourism sector provide the safety alliance, the tourism also need play important part to follow the procedure given by the tourism industry.
Okay, my name is Rauha binti Saha. So, the conclusion of the impacts of COVID-19 on global tourism industry is, firstly, the pandemic situation. As we know, COVID-19 has impacted many industries and resulted in numerous losses, not only in tourism industry and also other industries. However, because tourism contribute to most of the economy in many countries, it resulted in really large losses. Okay, and then tourism activities are prohibited throughout the world, and travel from country to another or state to state is also restricted, as we have in Malaysia the MCO. Okay, and the tourism dependent countries are prone to face the severity of the crisis for far longer than other companies, because the tourism industry is heavily impacted. The tourism dependent countries also incur severe losses, and the tourism industry can and also should play an essential part in helping the economy grow. As I mentioned earlier, it contributes to the large part of the economy in the countries. So the solution used by the tourism must benefit both sides, which are the customer and also the industry involved. So that's all from our group 9 from 22D. Thank you.